Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're right now at talking about ramping up remote work in the cloud. And right now, we're talking about the digital infrastructure. These days, businesses of all sizes are looking to cloud computing as means to be more efficiently deliver IT services to users. Cloud-based solutions offer a cost-effective way to maintain high availability and reliability for user applications, especially if they support remote workers, commuters, or field-based teams. Well, right now on our discussion on ramping up remote work in the cloud, we're looking at covering VPN and bandwidth capacity, identify and access management capability, building a preventive framework to reduce and mitigate the likelihood of business disruption, cloud-based contact centers for improved CX, implement the most immediate cloud workplace tools, consider the availability of critical cloud infrastructure for your overall network, value network, leverage workplace technology that meets the needs of your entire business, and define policies around remote work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our panelists. First up, Fariz Rahman Syah, information and digital technology expert, British American tobacco. Well, Fariz is 14 years of international experience working at the largest FMCG and technology companies in the world. We're talking about British American Tobacco, we're talking about Philip Morris International and SAP. After finishing his master's degree from Monash University, he has worked in Australia, Canada, and Indonesia, leading or being part of teams accountable for the delivery of projects to improve and transform supply chain, manufacturing, and finance. Well, we also have Johnson Lopu, the head of information technology, the Jakarta Post. Well, Johnson, an experienced professional with demonstrated history of working in private IT system on mining and metal industries to public IT system on media industry. Strong entrepreneurship professional skilled in digital opportunity, enterprise architecture, ITIL, databases, IT service management, and IT strategy. We also have Chulanga Pereira, the Chief Information Officer, Daimler India Commercial Vehicles India. Well, Mr. Chulanga graduated from New York with an honors dual degree in finance and mathematics with a concentration in corporate law. His career started out in investment banking, where he took on the role of equity analyst and later moved on to the currency swaps and exotic bonding trading. Well, his career right now at Daimler started in 2016 with the IT department at Daimler Trucks Asia in Japan, and as of now promoted as the youngest executive in Daimler's globally to serve as the Chief Information Officer for the Daimler India Commercial Vehicles. And this entire panel is going to be moderated by Andy Chun, the Regional Director of Technology Innovation, Prudential Corporation Asia. Well, Andy is leading AI pioneer and global visionary with over 3 decades of innovation experience in range of industries. Currently, he's with the Global Financial Services Group, Prudential PLC, as a Regional Director of Technology Innovation for Asia, providing leadership in the use for AI to help customers to be more healthier and wealthier, as well as leading talent development and innovation culture. He's also an adjunct professor at the City University of Hong Kong and a vice president and EXCO member for the Hong Kong Computer Society, a nonprofit professional organization. And he has received numerous AI and ICT awards. So congratulations, and thank you so much to our entire incredible panel for joining us today. Over to you.
A warm welcome to everyone who's joining us today. The topic for this panel is remote work in the cloud. I'm Andy Chun, the moderator for the panel. Before I introduce the other speakers, let me just provide backdrop for our discussion today. So COVID-19 has created a new norm for work, as we all know. Many businesses have employees working fully or partly from home, while customers use digital channels for products and services. In a recent study, 85% of those surveys said that they rely on work PC more than they did when working from office. So, the people are actually using their PC more because they want to stay connected and collaborate with coworkers, as well as support customers. So now that face-to-face is not possible or preferred. And over half of the respondents said that they will continue to work from home even after COVID-19 social distancing measures have been lifted. So for example, companies like Facebook, Google, Salesforce, and Intel all extending work from home to at least until next summer, 2021. And some companies like Twitter and Square allow employees to work from home indefinitely. So what COVID-19 has done is create a sudden need for digital transformation. Companies without a strong digital presence are going out of business, sadly. And for businesses, there is an increased demand for cloud services and heightened precautions on things like information security, data security, as well as privacy. So the impact is broad and across all industries. For example, in the insurance industry where I work, the impact is great. A majority of our workforce at Prudential, for example, we have roughly 600,000 agents and financial consultants across the region. And they rely on face-to-face to interact with customers. So in fact, it's a regulatory requirement by most governments in this region. However, after COVID-19, government regulators have quickly changed policies. Now Prudential is able to sell over 90% of its products virtually. So what that means to IT is that we have to quickly adopt technologies like eKYC, know your customer, with AI fingerprint and facial recognition, video chat for virtual meetings with customers, document sharing for policies, and e-signatures and e-payment. Of course, all these services are within our private cloud. Besides going digital, customers are also increasingly concerned with their health. At Prudential, we created an all-in-one AI healthcare app called Pulse so that people can check on their symptoms. We also have telemedicine so that customers can see doctors from home through their smartphone. In fact, over the past few months, the app has been downloaded over 8 million times across the region. It's free. Customer apps like ours are also driving cloud use. So the impact has been great, but it is good in a way. COVID-19 has accelerated digital adoption for consumers, government, and businesses by at least 5 years, if not more. It'll be interesting to hear how this has affected other industries. Fortunately, today we have several distinguished experts from different industries to share. So to start, may I invite each panel members to briefly introduce themselves and describe their role in their respective companies. To start, maybe we have Fariz. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Andy. Hi, everyone. My name is Fariz Rahmansha. I actually work as the IDT digital manager in British American Tobacco. So basically, I work in the digital marketing and the digital commerce teams. And one of our challenges this year was how do we launch, new ideas, new product to market, and say engagement to our consumers, because in our industries, it's heavily regulated, but we still need to be creative in the ways we use digital now to reach our consumers. And usually we used to talk with a lot of agencies face to face, but right now, how do we schedule and plan all our work online? So I think I can share that with you when we get into our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Fariz. Chilanga, can you introduce yourself?
Yep. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Chilanga Pereira, and I work as a CIO for Diamond India Commercial Vehicles. And like you rightly said, Andy, I think a lot of these issues that we are seeing is cutting across all industries. And for us, one of the major challenges was we are at a production hub. And I'm responsible for not just the IT infrastructure and operations part of it, but I'm also responsible for business analytics and connected vehicles, etc. So when we had to now move from, going from working at full capacity and then to working from home, and also to run production, keeping in mind that there's a certain level of data security that we have to look at from an OT perspective, and also to ensure that, the efficiency is not dropped. Because we cannot have our productions running and produce vehicles while sitting at home. So ensuring that the support system was enabled, one, and also how do we get more closer to our customers, given that they are now little bit retreating in terms of going out and buying our products, and this is across the entire industry. So how do we get a little bit more closer and then get into these digital channels were some of the challenges we had to combat and overcome in the past 6 months.
Thank you, Chulanka. John, can you introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, I'm Johnson. I'm from the Jakarta Post. So my responsibility is building the image of Jakarta Post into digital ecosystem better and better. So the point is we have a print edition and also the digital editions. Right now, during the COVID, the print edition really suffer from the revenues. So we push our customers going to digitals and creating a new product. We have a Jakarta Up Close, which is a webinar. That's how we approach our clients and customers at the moment. And we're also looking at any digital opportunities in the front with everybody.
Thank you, Johnson.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with some questions. So the panel members, I'm going to select one person to talk first, and then others feel free to jump in when you have something to add. Okay, let's start with first question is, has COVID-19 affected the need for remote work at your company or your industry in general, and what kind of services? Fariz, you want to start on this question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, for us in FMCG, specifically in marketing, it really has affected the way we work, because normally we would go to our agencies when we want to discuss about campaigns or when we want to discuss about go-to-markets, right? And with COVID, what that does is we actually have shifted all our, activities, all our meetings, and all our engagements with agencies actually online. So most of the briefs that we would be, we would have to go into the office, see the creative brief. We're all now doing it, it's either we use Microsoft, so it's either via Microsoft Teams, or we now we're used to now seamlessly sharing the digital file on these teams and then making comments and then sharing it back. And it actually has gotten us a bit, let's use the word agile. I don't want to use it, but it got us a bit more agile, a bit faster than the old way we used to do. So that's one benefit of how it has impacted our actually in my space in marketing, how it's impacted our work there. So I think that's what I can share, Andy.
Oh, super. Chulanka, you have anything to add?
So I think for us, what was very important was to make sure that, our after-sales business actually picked up. Because it's not about selling the new product per se, but we need to make sure we service and maintain these customers. So the need for example, an e-commerce platform was very, very evident during this time. And then also, just like I think Fariz mentioned, digital marketing for us became more and more important as well, because we needed to have the outreach, and we needed to generate leads digitally. And I think this was seen across the auto spectrum. But one thing that I am of the firm belief is everybody talks about how digital transformation is getting accelerated. I think a lot of the organizations, and I can talk on behalf of Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, our transformation journey started a little bit earlier than what most people would have anticipated for a couple of reasons. One, the auto sector is moving towards being more software driven into the product, right? All the cars, the trucks, the buses, they're all connected. And if we did not integrate a lot of our products with softwares, it became very hard for us to survive. And in order to be more software driven on the product, we needed to have the right skill set. We needed to transform from digitization to digitalization and then look at digital transformation. So that journey had started. What I do believe has happened in the industry is that with COVID, people have realized that they need to accelerate this transformation. Transformation, I think, already had started. Everybody was doing it. Otherwise, you would not exist, like you rightly said. So the acceleration and the amount of investments that go into digital transformation has expedited, I think. So which is looking a lot better, because if you look at how the world is evolving in the next 2 to 3 years, this becomes a very key component. So I think that brings everything together.
Thank you, Chulanka. Johnson, is your industry similar? I mean, the push for digital marketing and digital transformation, how's it in the media?
In the media, the print, yes, the print edition is suffers. So, but luckily our systems, digital system is actually already running on the cloud. So from the front and the back end and the CMS and so on. It's already in the cloud. And mostly our production team is try to give the good journalisms, keep on target and try to deliver what it is, the production capacities to our customers. So it's not really an issue for us. Because we are already cloud systems. So there's not much software. Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is, obviously with a lot of your colleagues working from home, is it driving a large demand for various cloud services? If so, what kind of cloud services are most of your employees using? Anyone want to volunteer for that question?
I'll start.
Okay, thanks.
The one that actually jumped up a lot was definitely Office 365 for us here, Andy. But it's also going away from using individual Excels that people would share on PowerPoints and beginning to actually, use the behavior of sharing the files directly in Teams, and you create, your team groups, team files.
Yes.
So that's in one place. That actually changed the dynamics of how people would collaborate digitally. So there's no more, we're trying to reduce, this is Excel A, Excel B, my Excel. This is just the one common one. And rather than it now being hidden in some SharePoint, it's in one team room where it's your team, say a digital marketing team or a sales team. So very easy to find. And then, we use Microsoft Planner, Planner and workflow, because then when you begin to work in a distributed fashion, the hardest thing is to plan and then to align the work of all our different partners, not just here in Indonesia, but some of our agencies overseas. So, some of the sets of the tools that really helped us from the Office suite was actually Teams, files, and collaboration tools, planning. But it took a lot of effort for everyone to, get in the motion of, we're using this now, guys. People forget that, oh, it's just the tools right there. But getting people to be comfortable to use, let's have our weekly stand-up, something, and this is our planning tool, no more local Excel, stuff like that. That was one of the challenges we had to fret out at the beginning around April, May-ish. It was specifically in our team when we were launching a few things, is just getting that way of working down pat. That was our biggest challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Fariz. It's kind of interesting because with work from home, people are actually collaborating online digitally a lot more than before. Before we could rely on just chatting with people over coffee, but now since everything has to be online, the intensity of interaction and collaboration and sharing has been a lot more from my experience, and sounds like it has been for your company's experience as well. Johnson Cholenka, you have anything to add to that? Are you similar? Are you seeing similar reactions at your work in terms of collaboration tools and sharing?
At the Jakarta Boss, we are using Google Suite, so we're doing the same thing but different brand only.
Different brand. Okay.
But that's the same purpose. Okay.
Sure.
Something that really challenging for us is we try to change the people habit. For example, when you wake up in the morning with a glass of coffee, what you read is the newspapers. But now you need to read it on your tablet or something like that. That's a habit we're going to change. Yeah. So we're trying to push our customers that way.
Yeah, a lot of people share that they actually do a lot more working from home because first thing they do when they wake up is to check their computer, see if there's any messages. Yes. Okay, moving along. My third question is as part of the IT leadership, how do you ensure your colleagues who do work remotely have adequate infrastructural support while ensuring identity, security, and proper licensing? So that infrastructural thing and then security, that's very important. How do you address those issues? Johnson, you want to start on this one?
Okay, let's start. Yes, we have for the developers and the infrastructure teams we're using RSA keys going to the servers and so on. so they get the access only on the registered laptop or MacBook they use. It's pretty secure right now. The next step is for the application, the CMS and everything. We put two-way verifications. It's going to the Telegram and another software that we use for that one.
Okay. Chalanga, you have, how do you do security at your work?
See, for us, I think I'll also take a little bit of a tangent from the previous question. For us, it has not been a drastic increase. I think we always had work from home as a policy integrated within our organization. So that was one. But what we did have to ramp up very quickly was VDIs. For example, our R&D colleagues who have to collaborate with other Daimler entities outside of India, we had to ensure that VDIs were provided, and not just VDIs, but then also the network had to be given to these colleagues, because some people were working from remote locations where network connectivity was not the best. And then that, of course, is not something that we can control, but what we had to do was ramp that up by providing adequate infrastructure. Now, when it comes to the security part of it, for me, the most challenging thing was bringing the awareness around what you can do, because you are exposing a lot of confidential data when you're at home. And sometimes it's not by purpose, it's sometimes due to lack of awareness or habits. When do you need to change certain passwords? What do you leave out on post-its, etc.? So at the very beginning itself, what we realized is that if work from home was going to be the new norm, and it is here to stay, then we need to make sure that training and awareness had to be created very quickly. So we looked at IAM, we looked at a lot of data security, and we gave a lot of online training to everyone across different business units, not just within IT, to build this awareness. So I think that is something which we did, which has seen us sort of evolve now, and the awareness has really increased over the past few months. So I think that really worked well for us.
Great sharing. Yes, definitely raising awareness is very important. Sometimes it's a matter of habit and people are just not aware of the potential risk that they're putting themselves into. Fariz, how about your organization? Any special arrangements for increasing security?
One of the things that we found was, because there was a lot of demand for, say, Teams, we found out that the network bandwidth actually got hit, right? And one of the technologies implemented, I don't know if you guys heard about it, is Riverbed. So it allows us to compress a lot of the traffic, right? And using that actually helped us to actually, rather than buy more bandwidth, utilize the existing one we have, because all the traffic was compressed. That was one finding that we had when we started, because everyone started to do video, and we thought that they'd just be chatting on Teams, right? No, they love their video, their face-to-face interaction, and we realized, okay, we have to have a compression tech to compress the technology. For security-wise, I think it's very similar to Johnson and Chalanga. It's, IAM becomes key, SSO becomes key, and specifically security policies on devices. So they actually stepped up the security policies for the sites that we can or cannot, right? Because in the past, you would have that under your corporate firewall. You would block it that way, but because you're at home, you're in your own Wi-Fi, right? There's no corporate firewall, right? So, but since you're on your device, it's still a PC device, a company device, you could actually have security policies that actually block what you can access at the browser level, right? Because we still control the browser. So that's what we had to add to make sure no one, starts using company devices to do, weird things.
Set up their own video channel. Okay, thank you for that sharing. So that's very interesting. So Fariz his company had to add in new products and technology to make remote work cloud more effective. How about the other companies? Do you have new technologies, collaboration tools, or something that you put in place recently to make work from home easier for your colleagues? Chalanga, or you always had adequate collaboration tools already? Anything new?
Nothing new per se. I think all the tools that were within our technology stack we have used. What I would say is new is something that we looked at from a software perspective. I do understand the tools will help you collaborate, but face-to-face interaction and simulating colleagues to give their best when you are remotely working is not the easiest. And when you are locked down, and in India we had an extended lockdown period, keep them motivated, to ensure that they were following up and they were doing what they wanted to do, which is our duty as leaders, to enable our workforce to blossom and give their best, became very difficult when there was lack of interaction. So what we really did was we utilized all the tools that were available to us, and we spent more and more time with our teams. Not just talking about work-related things, but to bring that energy level, to keep them motivated and show them that there is still light at the end of the tunnel. And we will come out stronger as a community and as a society. So that needed to be enhanced a bit. So I think rather than the tools, we took a more of a softer approach of being more connected towards people.
Great. Johnson, how about you? Yeah.
Well, actually, newspapers, there's a lot of ads on it. So we try to transfer that too. So we launched a new product as a webinar also. It's called Jakarta Up Close. We already have about 12 sessions. And we have also some minister of Indonesia involved in that show. So that's try to how we build, help our customer to build the brand and so on, and deliver the message. Besides just going on the newspapers and digital, we try to make it more interactive in the webinar version.
Thank you, Johnson. Okay, next question is: with everything on the cloud and everyone working from home, it's crucial that infrastructure is available 24/7. So how does your company avoid potential business disruptions with these new habits, with increased cloud use, increased digital, increased remote work? How do you ensure is there a backup plan, for example? It's a tough question. Anybody want to contribute to that?
Okay, let me try to do that one.
Okay.
So the interesting part is we try to how we still create the demand for our brand to our customers. That's the challenge that we're having now. So maybe we are learning how to implement the AI and the big data to bring a better customer experience going to our site.
Okay, great.
So I think,
but beside that, cloud is really dependent on the infrastructure. So for Indonesia, I think we should work together between everybody, the infrastructure, the government, and so on, how to accelerate this digital transformation faster.
Great. Shalanga, you want to add something?
Yeah. So for us, Andy, it was very clear when we were setting up our infrastructure and setting up the architecture, we made a very conscious effort to keep certain components separate. What I mean by that is we have a separate instance for our connected vehicles, because that is customer facing and we don't want to jeopardize that. Sure. Then for internal, when you look at our operations in the plant, where we have our machines connected and a lot of IoT data flowing in, that we kept separate. No? And then, of course, everything else where the business is able to access, and you have your big data and your data lakes and everything else, we kept it very separate so that there was no interlink, that if something went wrong, everything got impacted. And of course, we follow a standard Lambda architecture, which really helps us. But what was very, very important for us is shop floor security. Yeah, with increasing vulnerabilities popping up, we wanted to make sure that our OT was ramped up as well. So instead of looking at mitigating and of course backups and safeties was always there, and we have a hybrid cloud version, so we use on-prem and the cloud, but we clubbed this whole thing together by ensuring that we ramped up our OT security. The shop floor security within our plant had to be ramped up in order to make sure that we were very safe and secure.
Thank you, Shalanga. Okay. A question. So with all these new habits, I think one of you mentioned before, with this new way of working, people might not be really familiar with what the way they should use the tools. So do you have to put in new policies, to support remote work? Could be security policies or other work-related policies. Any new policies that you have to come up with so that your colleagues could work remotely and feel safe?
I think, and the basic hygiene factors were made aware of. But besides that, we did not implement any policies as such, because again, I'm of the firm belief the more and more policies you put, you are restricting your workforce, right? And I think it should be dependent on the central IT team to ensure that we safeguard and we mitigate the risks rather than putting more and more policies on the people. So we made a very conscious effort to make sure that we, within the IT team, safeguarded the workplace. And then basic hygiene factors that they needed to be aware of with the trainings that I spoke about earlier, we covered that aspect.
Super. Fariz Johnson, anything to add?
Yeah, basically in Jakarta office, the Jakarta government province is applying rules that limiting the number of people in one building and per floor is maximum 25%.
Right. Yeah.
Yes or no, we need to follow that rules, and we did it, and we're limiting everybody. We're doing the physical checks and healthy checks regularly to make sure everybody is healthy.
COVID-19 related policies. Right?
Yeah.
Fariz,
exactly.
you have something to add as well.
Yeah, I think Shivanga mentioned it. I think the hardest thing is to actually at the start there were a lot of burnout because first thing you wake up at 7. You actually start your day at 7, drinking your coffee, already opening your emails, and then suddenly you realize, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock at night. That has happened to me so many times. What did that happen was
I think we can all relate to that.
Our HR actually did send a note out, a policy to guys. Yes, it's there's two types. There's the one where you have to work, you still have to do your 8 hours, because some people do the I'm going to chill a bit, and some people are like us, start 7, finish at 7. So they wrote a policy to guys, please take your time, don't overwork yourself. They actually wrote that. But one of the things it actually initiated was for us to explore workplace analytics. I don't know if you've heard of it. So it's basically, we are, from all the logs generated on us on Teams, Office 365 and things, we just want to make sure that, you're okay, that you're not logged in doing Teams and stuff.
24/7.
Yeah, 24/7, It's different from like, oh, I see your IP is on. It's different, right? It's actually, what are you doing on your laptop? You work. That's something that when we started 3 months, 4 months into COVID, we said, maybe, we can start looking into workplace analytics just to see that, our remote workforce are actually, spending time on the right things, not being overworked in those things.
Yeah.
It's currently something we're trying to look into.
Good point. Very good point. Okay, my last question before we take audience question is, with all the things that we do, in terms of technology, end of the day, what's most important is our customers. Customer experience is most important. So, how with everything going on, how do you ensure your customers are happy? Working with your company in a new mode now, customers are interacting with you digitally instead of face-to-face. How do you ensure that digital experience is just as good as the face-to-face experience? Anybody?
Well, for media companies, before COVID, we already like that. Oh, unless you don't have any new newspapers in the next day. That's the easiest KPI.
Okay. So your customers were happy before, and they're still happy now. Okay.
Yeah.
They're always
we need to deliver the news every day, and on digital maybe we write up about 100 articles daily.
Okay. Cool.
It's 2 thumbs up to our production teams. They keep motivated and keep doing it during this hard time.
Okay.
And for us,
go ahead, Shalanga. Yes, Shalanga, please.
I have 2 customers, right? My internal customers, which is my business partners, keep them happy, and then of course the end customer who is buying our products. I think internally it was a lot easier with the collaboration tools, but when we looked outside, I think it was more, for example, telediagnostics. Can we remotely or do predictive maintenance on our vehicles? Can we provide contactless delivery of parts? Is that a possibility? And can we get more feedback from our customers as much as we can to better optimize our product, and also churn that feedback into analytics to really make sure that our processes are as optimized as they can be internally. So I think in terms of customer satisfaction, we wanted to make sure that there were plenty of tools available. One, to reach out to the customers, to understand them better. and to hear them out. And secondly, internally, to make sure that we were as efficient as possible in terms of the tool stack. So I think keeping all customers happy at the same time is not something that we in IT can always do,
Yes.
but we need to do our level best with whatever is available. No?
Yes. Yes, that's a good point. A lot of companies are increasingly using data, customer data or whatever data to better understand how that customer experience is really turning out. So that's really great. For Riz, did you have something to add?
No, I mean, if we talk about customer experience, one of the things we did was actually look at our tech stack and then look at our ecosystem. Because when you look at customer experience in the COVID era, it's all about channels, right? It's especially if you're selling a product, what channel do they get your product from? Is it owned e-commerce or even marketplaces, right? And depending on your industry, you can be heavily regulated on whether you can do those activities. So, we explored trying to still maintain relevancy to our customers within the channels we have, and even explored new channels. I can't divulge what channel, but we ended up exploring new channels to reach customers.
Super. Okay. So maybe we have time for one question from the audience. Let's see, I'll have one here. It says, with all these online virtual collaborations on digital platforms, how do you measure the overall output of the team? How do you know they're still delivering quality work? So some of you mentioned before with the different analytics and tools. Anything special that you did to ensure the company is maintaining the same output as before?
Well, I can share. I mean, within the last 4 months, we launched. Johnson has his digital ecosystem. We launched our digital ecosystem. That was 5 parallel solutions from different. Including Salesforce and Adobe and so many other things. We launched those all in parallel in 4 months during COVID. So there was no drop off in productivity or collaboration. There was actually an increase because because you're all focused on actually work. You're all focused on, I don't want to say this, but we use the Azure DevOps to plan our agile team, our activity. We use Planner, so it was really focused on our cadences, bang 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 bang. So we hit it.
Yeah, with everyone locked up at home, there's nothing else to do but work. Shalanga, you have anything to add to that?
Not a whole lot, I think. Productivity, I would say in certain aspects it did drop, in certain aspects it increased. And I'll touch upon the parts where it increased. What we realized is while we were working remotely, there were a lot of processes internally that we were so used to, which could have been optimized much faster. If you look at e-invoicing, if you look at digital signatures, right? Approval flows, all this really got, optimized very quickly because of the situation. So I think overall, if I speak on behalf of Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, we've seen an uptick in the efficiency, and that was made available, or that was sort of enhanced by making sure that we planned well in advance and that we gave the right tools to the people. If they don't have the tools, then all this collaboration will fall apart.
Okay, thank you, Johnson. How about you?
Well, for us, it's the business is quite hard at the moment, and we're trying to deliver the best. But that's the beauty of the because we are using the cloud system. So that's the beauty of the cloud systems. We can the real test for the IT is how can we evolve and develop something in the short times and in limited budget. That's the beauty of the cloud service, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we ran out of time. I'd like to thank the panel members for the valuable sharing, and I'll pass the floor back to Pavana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy, Fariz, Jalanga, and Johnson for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we've had a great panel discussion. So firstly, a big thank you on that.